Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. I'm Nye, and Jesus, we're getting close. We are ridiculously close to being done. It's been a long road, which you guys well know. We have done a lot in order to reach where we are now. So we're getting pretty close. We still have a couple characters we still have to work on. We still have to redo stuff with Blue Baby, for example, because I beat Mecha Satan without actually going to the dark room. I did that a couple times, actually. So, still got a little bit of work I have to do, but overall, we are doing really fantastic. I think we're pretty much done on the Hush with everybody. I gotta double check that. Not 100% sure on that. We're gonna go ahead and pick this up just so it doesn't show up again, and we'll get rid of it again. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm reasonably certain that we're... Ah, goddamn. Damn it. Ah, that sucked. I'm reasonably certain that we're done with, for the most part, that we're done with the Hush. So, you know, what does that mean for us? Well, it means we're going to be done soon. I'm going to be moving on to some other game, which for some people is a fantastic thing. For some people, they're not going to like that. But, yeah. It's kind of exciting. I've been playing Isaac Afterbirth for quite a while, since original launch. That's a good long time, and unfortunately I'm still not done. And I used to think I was good at this game. Not so much. Not so much at all. Because it's been... Let's see. Okay, you can die. Bomb? No. Let's see. So that means that I've been doing this for 5 months now? Something like that. It's the end of October, wasn't it? This is... Little Loki is just not an item that inspires confidence in me. Just stand here, see if we can get something out of this. Damn. Well, if I can in some way get flight, that'd be good. Verboten would be a ridiculously good thing to pick up because it cancels out any spacebar items. So they no longer spawn. And that's really exciting because I kind of want to stick with this spacebar item that we have now. You know, I really want to stick around with the Razor Blade, at least for the time being, until I find something much better. But I wouldn't mind just running the Razor Blade for the entirety of the game. And of course, little Loki fires in 4 directions. And we also have, of course, my Razor Blade, which deals 1 heart's worth of damage to me and gives me a damage increase, 1 red heart specifically, and gives me a damage increase for that room. And of course, given that I'm Eve, dealing damage to myself, sends out my bird, but in addition to that, also puts me into Whore of Babylon mode, which increases my movement speed, tier rate, and damage, which is why we're doing such ridiculous damage, which is why I chose to take that damage to begin with. Okay, so, wow, that was a thing. They almost never do that. A little bit of damage to begin with never hurt anybody, right? Take the Mom's Pearls for a range plus a luck up plus 1. No Spirit Hearts? Oh, so sure they gave you a Spirit Heart. Okay. So since I last talked to you guys, I finished reading another book series. I actually talked about it some time ago, but keep in mind that, you know, I may have talked to you guys about it a while ago, but I still ended up... let's see. I actually ended up, you know, I ended up recording a lot of episodes all at once, and then I stopped recording for quite a while. So what ended up happening is, you know, it's been, like, since I started reading it, it only took me, you know, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 weeks to finish reading all 3 books. But I record a crap ton of episodes, so it's going to be a little bit longer than that, since I first started talking about it when I talked to you guys. And I just... You know, it's very interesting because a lot of the books that I'm rereading right now as I, you know, just enjoy kind of the rereads before I start looking into other authors. A lot of these books that I'm reading right now, I haven't read since I was a young kid. So, for example, the Golden Compass trilogy, the last time I read, I probably was 14, 15, 16. You know, I read them a long time before they made the movie. I read them, you know, a fair amount of time. And a lot of the stuff I didn't understand. Like, I didn't, you know, I didn't understand some of the references I was making. I didn't understand some of the political and religious implications. So it's it's a thing that was interesting to read, knowing some stuff that I know now, knowing a little bit more about religion, knowing a little bit more about history, but also, some of the stuff it was saying, some connections that I just didn't make. Some of it with, like, language and things like that. There were a couple of references in there. Philip Pullman uses a lot of archaic words in the book to differentiate his world, Lyra's world, or Lyra, apparently is how it's pronounced. In my head, it will always be Lyra. But he uses some, different words. So, for example, anbaric current as opposed to electrical current. And apparently, anbaric, I guess, is actually a old word for electric current. So it's actually, it is a thing that did used to exist, which is really cool. It's stuff I didn't know, some words that I didn't know, some references, some, stuff I didn't know then. Like, for example, the fact that the book refers to Muscovites, which is a phrase that I had never, as a kid, known. And now, with a little bit of background in stuff like, not civilization, but, I am not picking that up in any way, shape, or form. With a little bit of background in, Europa Universalis, I now know kind of where Muscovy is and what that country was. So it makes a much, bigger impression now that I have an idea of, oh, okay, when it refers to such and such a, such and such a country that doesn't actually exist in my world, it's again poking at the alternate timeline and stuff like that. So it was a very cool thing, as an adult who understands some of this stuff a little bit more, to have some of these references kind of put in there. So I think that we are going to take these, and then we're going to go ahead and, let's see, where is my secret room likely to be? Right here, maybe? No. Yeah, we're gonna do the self-sacrifice room trick, I believe. I think that's what we're gonna do. If I can even find one. But yeah, it was very, very, very interesting. And so I never watched the movie. I was very excited when the Golden Compass movie first came out, because it was one of my favorite books as a kid. Even if I didn't quite understand it, I was always very fascinated by some of the ideas in the book. For example, the fact that I cannot pronounce any of the words. When I see the I don't know the name of the symbol. It's the A and the E together. I always pronounce it as Damon. And that was how I understood the name for for Pan and other of those creatures to be. Then I ended up listening to the audiobook on accident because, apparently Amazon wanted me to listen to it to see if I would buy it from them. But apparently it's actually pronounced demon, which, whatever. If that's how you want to pronounce it, it's how you want to pronounce it. But, so that's how I pronounce demon. So one thing was interesting was hearing the actual pronunciation of some of these words that I didn't know. But also, there was some pronunciation of the character names. So, for example, I always understood it to be Lyra. That's how I always pronounced the character's name in my head. And according to the audiobook, it's actually Lyra, which I guess I can understand that. I can understand kind of where the name comes from. I kind of picture that it may be a reference to the fact that the character lies a lot, and that's one of her big deals. It's one of her big character traits. I just think that, Lyra is a better and more interesting name in my head. But there's also Pan. So the character I always pronounced in my head was Pantalaimon. That's how I pronounced it. And I was thinking, Pokemon was what I was thinking, because as a kid, that was a big deal for me. So whenever I saw Mon as a suffix for a name or anything like that, that's what I thought. So I was pronouncing kind of weird. According to the audiobook, it's Pantalaimon, which, fine, I'm never gonna call him that. But, your mileage may vary. But I was fascinated as a kid with the idea of the personal demon, of a living embodiment of your conscience. You know, it was fascinating to me. And I thought, you know, that is so cool. You know, why is that not something that our world has? You know, this living embodiment of your conscience that can talk to you and is always there. So it was a very interesting read to reread, you know, as an adult. Not only, again, knowing some of the stuff I know now, some connections I was able to make, but also, you know, I think I saw it with different eyes as an adult. There were things in the, that sucks. There were things in the book that, you know, I really didn't make a connection with, that wouldn't have resonated with me as a kid, because, you know, when I was younger, you know, I didn't really, stuff like, you know, original sin didn't mean anything to me. It was just a series of words that I had maybe heard around, but, you know, there was no connection. And now, you know, I know a little bit more. It's not something that I know huge amounts about, but it's something I've heard of. It's something I can kind of connect to something. And so it becomes interesting the way that Phil Pullman takes that and turns that on its head. But I was hugely excited when there was a movie that came out, because I'm like, dude, this is so cool. This book that I have loved for, you know, forever is being made into a movie. You know, basically the same thing as you might say for something like Harry Potter. You know, man, this is so cool. And then, you know, from what I gather, so I never watched it because I'm not a movie guy. I really don't watch movies. I don't sit still for, you know, for an hour. I like to be able to get up and move around and go do something else. My attention may wander, you know, and that happens. You know, I want to be able to, I don't want to miss something if I want to get up and go to the bathroom. So I never go to see movies in theaters. And very rarely do I even go to see, do I even buy a movie to watch in the comfort of my own home. Which is weird to a lot of people, but there you go. Even a movie that, like, I'm excited about Deadpool, and I'll probably not see it, like, for a long time. I haven't seen the new Star Wars movie, which is weird to a lot of people. But, you know, these are just things that for me, it's just, this is how it goes. So, you know, I never saw the movie, but what I was gathering is that, number one, the movie did not do an incredible amount to follow the book. In a lot of ways. I gathered it was meant to be a one-shot movie as opposed to the 3 parts the way the book did it. But I also gathered that a lot of people kind of misunderstood what, I guess, the movie was... Well, maybe not the movie, what the book was trying to say in reference to, you know, the church and Christianity and all that good stuff. Which was really interesting, because I went back and I started rereading, when I was rereading, so, like, a lot of people said, like, the movie was very anti-Christian, anti-Catholic, anti-church, and all that good stuff. But when I was reading it, I went, okay, you know, is this something, because I didn't remember, you know, that. I'm like, is this something I missed? Did I miss at some point, you know, this being a thing in the book, and I just, you know, this is something I just didn't know? Because it wouldn't have, you know, would have spoiled the book for me at all, because that's not, you know, that's not something that I find incredibly important. But I was kind of curious. Did I miss this? Is that, you know, what the hell are they talking about? And, you know, what's interesting to me is, after rereading it, I'm like, no, I didn't miss anything. I don't know what they're talking about. You know, I really don't see that, you know, anti-church feeling. Yes, in this book, I guess, and the movie too, because I guess the movie follows the book fairly closely. In the book and the movie, the church is the main, or one of the main antagonists. Not in a direct way for the most part, but at certain points in the book, you know, the church is a major antagonist. And, you know, what's interesting to me is that if you don't read the book, they seem to be a much bigger antagonist for slightly different reasons than you'd expect. Like, when you hear antagonist, you're going, okay, you know, they're the bad guys. And if you don't actually read it, you don't understand what it is that they're doing. But it's one of those things that it's the church in the book is very different from the church in real life. Now, I haven't actually gone back to check out Philip Pullman's opinion on the matter, but I have this rather distinct feeling that he was not actually trying to cast aspersions on the church. I've got this idea just from the fact that I've actually read the damn book. But so it's very interesting. Especially from some of the things he says, it actually, you know, he actually makes the church out to be a decent thing at some times. It's more the people behind it that are the problem. Which, you know, that's the case in anything, right? In anything, the people are the problem. I don't... Okay, I should have enough health. Yeah, it's, you know, the people are the problem most of the time in stuff like this. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I don't understand why people got so up in arms about this, because it did not seem to be that problem to me, which, you know, I may be a little naive on that. Okay, so problem. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go in here. Gonna hit that, then we're gonna hit this. And I'm gonna go for this. We're not in an incredibly good position. Okay, we're not in an incredibly good position right now. I need to get one more red heart to be able to do the stuff that I want to do. Okay, there's the first key. So let's see. So we got plenty of batteries. But yeah, it was just a thing. I don't see what a lot of people seem to see. And again, it may be that the movie is vastly different from the book in that regard. I'm not 100% sure. But you know, it seems like if the movie is vastly different, then that's the fault of, like, the director and the writer. If the movie isn't different, it seems like people may have been seeing something very different from what was actually there. That's not good. I've already been there. Okay, well, that's not good. We're still missing... Yeah, not really much I can do. We still need to hit it one more time. And I can't, because if I do, I'll die. I don't think I missed any tinted rocks. Just go do a double check, because we're not really timed on this one. Can always look for the top secret room. I don't think it's in any of these locations. Let's go looking for it, though, just in case. Okay, so it can't be any there. We'll use some bombs, though. We'll see if we can maybe get something nice here. Okay, so it could be here. Could be here. There it is. And it's a crappy one, too. We don't get anything out of it. Well, that sucks. But yeah, you know, as I said, it's weird for me. I don't understand it. I did greatly enjoy the book, though. In my opinion, it didn't quite hold up to my memory of it being fantastic. The first book was. I will say that. The first book was fantastic. But, I think the second book was generally okay. But by the time you get to the second book, you're in kind of a large way. You know, it's the Pirates of the Caribbean thing. It's, you know, the first book could have stood alone. The ending was maybe a little bit weak in the first book if it was intended to stand alone. But the book could have stood alone. But, you know, by the time you get to the second book, now we're talking about, you know, a potential trilogy or otherwise. So the second book, you know, was building up, obviously, to a third book. And the third book just kind of, it went in its own direction. It made good on the promises that were given to us. But the downside is that while it did make good on those promises, it didn't... The writing felt a little bit sloppier, I think, is the way I'd like to put that. So the writing felt fairly sloppy, and then there was just... It didn't feel as strong, that's the word I want to use. It didn't feel as strong as maybe the first or second book. You know, it felt as if, you know, Philip Pullman was kind of looking for how to finish the series, and he was having some trouble with ideas, maybe. Or, you know, I don't know if he wrote himself into a corner, but there was just a point where it's like, okay, this, you know, I understand where you're going with this, but this doesn't seem to fit with the stylistic choices of kind of the rest of the series. So, you know, it's like certain characters vanish for reasons that I don't like, things like that. So, you know, maybe it's just personal opinion, which it very well might be. You know, I'd like to try to be fair in my critique of the book, because while I do, as I said, I do love these books. They're, you know, they're a cherished part of my childhood. I loved reading them, and I continue to love reading them. So, you know, as I said, they're a big thing for me. But you know, I'm going to be cognizant of the fact that they do have some problems, and part of that is that the book 3's writing is not, in my opinion, as strong as book 1 and 2. I mean, book 1 definitely has the stronger writing out of all 3. There's not even a question. But, you know, there's just some stuff that doesn't quite work. Some characters vanish fairly quickly, which is definitely a thing. Let's see if we can get something here. Come on, Spirit Heart. Okay, let's go. Pop into here. Okay, Greed Fight's okay. For a little more health. Oh, crap. Well, we're definitely going to have to use that Joker card then. Come on. Okay, I want you to, like, pass right there. Good, great. Okay, I have no idea where I am right now. But yeah, so, you know, my opinions. What I do, you know, I do feel like things were done fairly well, and there are definite moments in the book that are, some are, nope. Some are incredibly touching. There are definitely moments in the book that I just, you know, there was one moment where I kind of teared up a little bit because things felt like they had been completed in a truly spectacular fashion in the way the book had set them up. Not going to go too far into it for those who have not read the book. I kind of, you know, I encourage you guys, if you have not read the Golden Compass, you know, the His Dark Materials trilogy. But I highly recommend it, actually. It's really fun. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it. You know, it's definitely not, you know, adult reading, I don't think I'd say. You know, it's very much a, god damn it, it's very much kind of a young adult thing. But I do think that it did its stuff really well. And there are some definitely cool characters. There's people you're going to like, people you're going to miss if you never see them again. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending of the books. You know, it's not at all what I would have wanted. It didn't feel like a fun ending. It didn't feel, you know, it was a good ending, but it wasn't the ending I would have wanted. You know, it's the, you know, it's the ending that you're like, okay, I understand this, but I didn't want it like this. So, but yeah, there were definitely, you know, there was definite moments where I kind of teared up a little bit because I'm like, you know, damn, you know, this was a thing that happened. You did this to, you know, characters I liked. So there's stuff like that happened. You guys ever have that? You guys have that moment where, you know, a book does something to a character you like, and you're going, man, you know, that really sucks, or man, I'm so glad this happened for them. There is always that moment. There are those characters who you just can't help but connect with. And what's really interesting is the character in question, the character that I'm talking about, he's more of a minor character. Like, he's not this, you know, grand character that you spent, you know, days with or anything like that. He comes up a couple of times, and that's about it. So, you know, the fact that, you know, he kind of affects you in this way, and that he's kind of a character that all of a sudden becomes a huge deal later on, you know, it's kind of a thing. For those of you who have read the book, you probably know who I'm talking about. What I also like is kind of some of the cultural responses to it. My favorite is actually League of Legends, which, you know, I continue to play continuously and voraciously. You know, League actually has a character that is, I'm not going to say shamelessly stolen, but I'm going to insinuate it very loudly. You know, they have an armored bear that fits in a lot of ways. Not every way. There is stuff they did on their own. You know, the lightning thing wasn't in the book, but, you know, there is an armored bear. He's a major character in at least the first book, if not so much in the second two, but at least the first book. And he's a huge character. And so, you know, I was kind of cracking up a little bit when I realized that League had a character like that, and you know, he's kind of a big deal by himself. So, you know, I kind of like it. I kind of dig the idea that, a character from one of my favorite books is actually in a game that I play, even if he doesn't have the same name. It's kind of cool that way. So, I enjoyed it. It does make me kind of curious, because I'm not at all, as I said, I'm not at all like a really religious person or not, but I do find that I'm reading a lot of books with at least religious overtones, if nothing else. Not talking about stuff like, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or, even Lord of the Rings, which, that one's a little less obvious. One I am reading, which you guys may know this one. I picked up these books while I still lived in Colorado, and the author lives in the city that I lived in. I lived in Colorado Springs. That's where she is. The Dragon Spell novels by Danita K. Paul, which, again, this was a book that I was given, kind of as an early teen. I really enjoyed them for what they were, which is, they're not amazing high fantasy. I'm not gonna say they're fantastically amazing books, but what's cool about them is that they give you a cool fantasy world. The first book is not amazing in it, but it kind of starts you off. And the ensuing books, there's like 7 books in the series. The ensuing books kind of go a lot deeper into the fantasy world and a lot deeper into characterization. Okay, this really sucks. Can you die, please? I don't want to deal with you too. But what I really like about it is that the author is obviously a very religious woman, and she kind of takes a lot of I'm colorblind at this range, so you'll have to forgive me, but Christianity and Catholicism, and kind of translate it a little bit into this book series. Changing some names, so it's not Christ, it's Paladin, it's not God, it's Walder. But what's interesting is that she, goes on and she takes them and she makes them a big part of her fantasy series, making them a big deal, while not, I'm not going to say not making them a huge part of the books, because they are, but it's more of a passive thing, which I kind of like, because as I said, I'm not religious at all. It's not a thing that I really give any attention to, but I kind of enjoy people who do, in a kind of, like, people-watching sense. I enjoy, like, seeing people who are religious getting a lot out of it. One of my mom's really good friends is a priest who has been a close family friend for a number of years. He is a particularly selfless man, and has, personally helped out my family when we fell on some very tough times. He is he is the guy that you want your local priest to be. The one who is not only very passionate about himself, but he's also selfless. He will come to the birthday party of a child just to be there for them. He's the guy who, does a fundraiser for the church roof. That sort of priest. And, I've never been, a huge thing into, insert your church here. But he's the type of guy that it's like, well, if this was something that I would aspire to, this is a man that I would want to go and support. So I really, and he's awesome. He's Irish. He went into Ireland, and one of the things he did while he was there is he actually bought, souvenirs for us because, as I said, we're fairly close family friends. And one of the souvenirs he got, which was kind of cool, is he got me an Irish marble rosary. Now, kind of as I said, I'm not religious at all, so in general, this is not something that would have a lot of impact on my life, because while it is a very extraordinarily pretty thing, I have it hanging on my bed, just a few feet from me, actually. It's extraordinarily pretty. I value it for what it is, which is a very nice and a very enjoyable souvenir and something to look at. That's about as far as I get out of it. It's not something I really do much, but there was a moment where after my grandmother died, I kind of felt, maybe there's something to this, and I actually took some comfort out of it. Didn't try to pray with her or anything like that, but I kind of held on to it because it's something that she really liked. And there was that moment where I'm like, okay, well, this was helpful. So I appreciate him for it. So even though this book series does not really talk about, the comments, The religious comments are sometimes out of place in the book. They sometimes feel shoehorned in, and at the same time, sometimes they feel like they work very well. You know, there are times when a character finds their faith tested, and those are times when it works very well, but occasionally there's just the, you know, praise be unto him for no particular reason. You know, arguably it's something went well, you should praise God for it, therefore we praise God. And those are one thing, but there are times when it's like, you know, you, like, literally the characters are going, you have placed this trial before me and I don't understand, please fill me with your wisdom. Or, you know, we have come through this very difficult time, and, you know, it is only by the grace of God that we would have been able to do it, therefore praise God. Which, you know, I appreciate those, because those are, you know, a lot more true to life, and those are the times when I would expect someone who is truly very religious to kind of follow through, and I expect them to be actually reacting like that. So, you know, there are times when I really appreciate how this book goes. And it's, you know, it's an enjoyable story. I'm not going to say this is a story that will stand the test of time, but they've got some very cool ideas in there. She puts some unique stuff in there. And there's always that, there's that thing about the hometown writer, you know, the person who comes from where you come from, that makes it a little bit more special. I was actually even able to get some books, I don't know where they are anymore, thanks to a hurricane, but I was able to even get some of the books, like, autographed, which was, for me, kind of a cool thing. For some people, maybe not so much, but I thought it was cool. There was an author whose books that I appreciate had time to sign some copies that I had, which, you know, if you're going to be a famous, fairly famous person, and you have a fan that comes up to you, you know, being an awesome person and going, yes, of course, is pretty cool. Keep in mind, this same woman, this actually, the real chops that she has, the one that makes me really appreciate her, it's actually not the autograph. She, after she made herself a commercial success, she went and started hosting writing classes at a local school, which, you know, again, that is the writer of awesomeness. That is the person that is, yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen. That's the really cool person. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll catch y'all next time.